but his exhaustion was evident. "Oh, poor Jack," Vicky said, her voice full of sympathy. "Yeah, maybe we ought to go to bed," Jack suggested, his voice a little hoarse. "So early?" Vicky asked, a playful glint in her eyes, though she too was clearly tired. Jack glanced at the small clock on the nightstand. "It's after midnight." "It is," Vicky exclaimed, surprised. "Yeah, let's get to bed." Jack nodded, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nerves. This was it, their first night. He walked towards a bathroom, then paused. Excuse me. "Just 1 second. "Where are you going?" Vicky asked, a hint of amusement in her voice. "I have to undress my teeth. Brush my teeth." Jack corrected himself, a nervous laugh escaping him. He was so flustered, he couldn't even speak properly. Vicky watched him go, a soft smile on her face. She knew he was nervous, and the knowledge somehow calmed her own jitters. She began to slowly undress, her movements graceful, her mind filled with a quiet anticipation. A few minutes later, she called out, "Jack, yeah, are you still brushing your teeth?" "Nope, all finished," Jack replied, emerging from the bathroom, fully dressed in his pajamas, his hair neatly combed, his breath minty fresh. Vicky looked at him, surprised. "Good, are you going out?" "You're all dressed up," she teased, a playful glint in her eyes. Jack chuckled, a nervous tremor in his voice. "Oh, well, no, it's just, I like to look my best at all times," he offered, trying to sound nonchalant. "Can I get you some more champagne?" "No, thank you," Vicky replied, suppressing a smile. "Coffee, tea, cocoa," Jack continued, his nervousness manifesting in a flurry of unnecessary offers. "No." "You sure there's nothing I can get you?" "No." "Okay, then I guess it's time to hit the sack," Jack said, his voice a little strained. He walked towards the bed, then paused, his gaze falling on his robe. "Oh, Jack, hang on 1 second. Don't need these, do I?" He fumbled with the belt of his robe, taking it off. Vicky watched him, a tender smile on her face. She knew this was a big step for him, a departure from his deeply ingrained traditions. His awkwardness, his nervousness, only made him more endearing. Jack climbed into bed, pulling the covers up to his chin. "Just a second, Vicky, because sometimes it's all hard to get comfortable." He adjusted the pillows, fluffed the sheets, straightened the blanket, a whirlwind of unnecessary movements. "These poor people. How are you doing?" he mumbled, as if addressing the bed itself. Vicky, now also in bed, reached out and gently touched his arm. "A little slippery." "Sorry," she whispered, her voice soft and reassuring. Jack stopped his fidgeting, his gaze meeting hers. He saw the warmth in her eyes, the understanding, the gentle love. He took a deep breath, letting go of his self. "Jack, can I tell you something?" Vicky asked, her voice quiet, almost hesitant. Sure. Promise you won't laugh." No, I am so nervous," Vicky confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack's eyes widened. "You are?" He had thought he was the only one. "Oh, yes. I can't stop shaking," she admitted, a small, shaky laugh escaping her. "I thought it was me," Jack confessed, a wave of relief washing over him. He wasn't alone in his nervousness. "I can't help it. This is a very special night," Vicky said, her eyes shining with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Special, Vicky." Jack reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "This is the most special night of my life." "Oh, Jack," Vicky breathed, her eyes welling up with tears of joy. Jack pulled her closer, their bodies touching, a warmth spreading between them. "Hey, come on now. There's nothing for you to be nervous about. You're with me," he whispered, his voice filled with a tenderness that soothed her fears. "Oh, Jack, you're so reassuring," Vicky said, leaning into his embrace. "Yeah," well, Jack began, but he was cut off by a sudden, thunderous pounding on the apartment door, followed by a familiar, furious voice. "Get out, Mr. Bradford!" Jack and Vicky froze, their eyes wide with shock. "Mr. Bradford, here now." The door burst open, revealing Harry Bradford, his face contorted with rage, his eyes blazing. He stormed into the bedroom, his gaze sweeping over the intimate scene, his ulcer clearly forgotten in his fury. I didn't realize that you'd moved in already. Mr. Bradford spat out, his voice dripping with sarcasm and disapproval. Jack, still stunned, stammered, "How did you get in here?" Mr. Bradford held up a key, a triumphant, malevolent glint in his eyes. "My key." "Your key," Jack repeated, bewildered. "Yes, Mr. Angelino gave it to me." "He what?" Jack's voice was incredulous. "Yes, about an hour ago, when I bought this building from him," Mr. Bradford announced, his voice filled with a chilling finality, a triumphant smirk on his face. "What? This building?" "Yes, including the restaurant. Say hello to your new landlord." The words hung in the air, a devastating blow that shattered the fragile peace of their first night. Jack and Vicky stared at Mr. Bradford, then at each other, their dreams of a new beginning, of a life free from interference, suddenly crumbling around them. Their landlord. Their new, inescapable, and utterly infuriating landlord. The battle, it seemed, had only just begun. Chapter 7. The Uninvited Landlord. The silence that followed Mr. Bradford's declaration was deafening. A thick, suffocating blanket that smothered the last embers of romance from Jack and Vicky's first night. Jack felt a cold dread creep up his spine. His new landlord. The man who had tried to sabotage his relationship with Vicky, who had openly expressed his disapproval of their living arrangement, was now their literal overseer. Vicky, however, was the first to recover from the shock, her initial terror quickly morphing into a simmering anger. She sat up in bed, pulling the covers tighter around her. "You bought the building. The entire building." Her voice was low, dangerous. Mr. Bradford, basking in his moment of triumph, nodded smugly. "Every brick, Victoria, including this apartment, and the establishment downstairs." He gestured dismissively towards the floor, indicating Jack's restaurant. "I thought it would be prudent to ensure my daughter was living in appropriate conditions, and to safeguard my investment, of course." Jack finally found his voice, a raw, incredulous whisper. "You did this to control us, to control Vicky." "Control?" Mr. Bradford scoffed, feigning indignation. "I merely wish to ensure my daughter's well. And as for you, Tripper, I am merely exercising my rights as a property owner. This is my building now. My rules." He swept his gaze around the room, a possessive gleam in his eyes. "And my key, as you so aptly observed." Vicky scrambled out of bed, grabbing her robe and pulling it on, her movements sharp with fury. "This is an invasion of privacy. You can't just burst into our home." "Your home?" Mr. Bradford raised an eyebrow, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Technically, Victoria, this is my property, and I have every right to inspect it, especially when it houses my impressionable daughter and her questionable choices." He looked pointedly at Jack. Jack, despite his anger, felt a surge of protectiveness towards Vicky. He climbed out of bed, pulling on his own pajamas, stepping between Vicky and her father. "You have no right to talk to her like that, or to us." "Oh, I assure you, I have every right." Mr. Bradford's voice was dangerously calm, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in his eyes. "And let me make one thing perfectly clear. While you reside in my building, you will adhere to my standards. No late-night noise, no scandalous behavior, and if I hear even a whisper of impropriety, you will both be out on the street." Vicky gasped, her face pulling. "You wouldn't try me, Victoria." Mr. Bradford's eyes gleamed. "My ulcer, you see, is a very delicate thing, and I find that certain situations tend to aggravate it. I wouldn't want to cause myself any undue stress, would I?" He clutched his stomach dramatically, a performance perfected over years of emotional manipulation. Jack clenched his fists, struggling to control his rage. He wanted to throw the man out, to protect Vicky from his toxic influence, but Mr. Bradford held all the cards. He owned the building, and with it, their immediate future. "Now, I believe I have made my position clear," Mr. Bradford said, his voice regaining its smug composure. "I shall expect the rent promptly on the 1st of the month, and I will be conducting regular inspections. Good night." He turned a victorious smirk on his face, and walked out, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a final, damning judgment. The moment he was gone, Vicky collapsed onto the bed, burying her face in her hands, silent sobs racking her body. Jack rushed to her side, pulling her into his arms, holding her tightly. "I'm so sorry, Vicky. I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice filled with remorse. He had promised her a life free from her father's interference, a new beginning. And now, in their very first hour, that promise had been shattered.